Bags down, spikes on. Welcome to the track. Hi, my name is Colin Weitzman. I'm going to be your host for this episode of Track World News presented by Track Barn. And today we're joined by a very special guest. She's been running track for over 13 years, but has just turned 20. Actually, we have very similar birthdays. I'm a September birthday too. So there we go. But we're joined by Tia Jones, hurdler, youth world record holder in the hurdles, and U20 2018 world champion. Tia, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No problem, no problem. And like I said, I mean, you're just turning 20 years old, or you're 20 years old, but you've got the over 12, 13 years of experience in our sport. What's it like when you think about it, like, oh man, I've really been doing this thing for a long time?
Well, for me, it's like I feel like a young veteran more so. I've been running since I was 8 years old. Ever since I can remember, I just fell in love with track. But the experience has been great. I've learned a lot along the way. I'm just ready to, keep going and accomplishing the goals that I would like to.
For sure, for sure. And so before we get into any of your stuff that we got on the track, I want to ask you about some things off the track first. So I remember, so you're good friends with Hannah Cunliffe, and I was helping make some videos with for her, and I think it was, were you doing some cooking recipes, making some recipes? Is that you?
He actually asked me to come over. So all of my friends love my cooking. And they're like, Tia, can you come over and cook? Or can we come to the house and cook? And I'm like, yeah, of course. What do you want to cook? So she had this great idea for me to come cook for her and put it in her YouTube video. So we made like smothered chicken and like mashed potatoes, I think. And it was really a funny video.
Oh yeah, I was like salivating, just like looking through it. I was like, oh man, like taking notes. Okay, how much of this I need? All right, good, good, good. So what is your favorite recipe or dish to make then?
um, for the moment, it's salmon. I can't really eat a lot of things I like to cook because I have to stay on a good diet basis. So for the most part, I make a different types of things with salmon and different recipes of salmon. So right now, as of right now, salmon is my favorite dish.
There you go. Yeah, we'll use the smothered chicken once during the off season, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And so you have a dog too, I think, right?
Yeah, princess. Princess.
Princess?
She's always asleep. Princess. She's so. You want to say
She,
hi?
let's see.
Oh, she's kind of fat.
There she is. Oh. How old is she?
She's 3 years old. I've had her since she was 8 weeks.
What does she know any tricks, or just kind of not into all that?
She listens very well. She's voice trained. I walk around everywhere with her without a leash on, so I feel like that's all I need. Just make sure she listens and potty trained. So
That's good. As long as you don't have to worry about, running around, having it's all snow and you gotta like, oh man, come on back,
it
come on.
really does. But she's was a really easy dog to train. I think it's within her breed.
There you go. That's good. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, so now want to turn things back over to the track. And so yeah, like we said, you started off with this sport at a young age. What got you interested in running track? How did you, originally start getting into to the hurdles there?
Well, it was a funny story. My dad was in the NFL and my brother was phenomenal at football. So, father, son, they more so were always training for football. So my mom really went to my dad and was like, you need to spend more time with your girls. I have a lot of brothers and sisters. So basically my mom went out somewhere, signed us up for track and gave my dad a whistle, was like, you're a coach, you're training our daughters. My dad was like, what? And I remember my very first day of track, I ran for the Heat Track Club out in Marietta, Georgia. And my very first track practice was 8 400s. I wanted to die. It was so bad. Me and my sister, we were stopped. I was like, I'm not running track. I was like, this isn't for me. It was so bad. But I remember they had us in track meets. originally starting out, I ran the 100, 200, 400. I was a national champion in all 3 events. I also did the triathlon. I went all the way up to the heptathlon, and I was a national champion in all of those as well. And I just remember I used to always get 5th, 4th place all the time. I remember just coming up to the stadium to my dad, and I just threw my spikes. I was so pissed. And I was like, Dad, I'm tired of losing. I want to start training. I want to start doing what you and my brother, you and Tyron does all the time. So I was 8 years old. So as soon as I started training with my dad, that same year I went to Junior Olympics and I won 1st place in the 200 and the 400, and I got 2nd in the 100.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
so you're coming from a really good athletic family then. If you got professional athletes, all these top tier athletes,
Yeah.
that's so set up pretty well. I mean, for you, like you mentioned, you were getting national championships in multiple different events. And so how was it hard to pick one and be like, hey, this is what I want to focus in? Or was it pretty easy for you to go, okay, it's going to be the 100 hurdles?
For me, honestly, I picked up the hurdles because I wanted to drop the 400. I was undefeated for probably 8 years straight, and I probably had my first loss in the open 100. And it was very exhausting because I don't know if you know, like with AAU track or USATF track, whenever they have the heptathlon or pentathlon or triathlon, they usually have that like on Thursday. So I'll do that all day Thursday. Then I'll come on Friday and do prelims for the 1, 2, and the 4. They come back on Saturday having to run and then having to win. I was exhausted. It was just a lot for me. So I told my dad, I was like, can I do the hurdles? And he was like, yeah, we could try it out. So, I just eased my way to where, Dad, can I focus on the hurdles? We just dropped the 400 for this one track meet. He was like, yeah, fine. But I felt like I was recognized more in the 100 hurdles because of how much of a lead I had with them, because I already had the speed down because I was a sprinter. So when I got my technique down in the hurdles, I feel like I was just recognized more for the hurdles at that point.
Yeah, and talking about that, I mean, you're one of those athletes that have really seen a lot of recognition through, pretty early on. Like there's not many track athletes that are getting some new, like I took a look on some of your name for YouTube. We're seeing some clips that are about 12 years old of you running when you're in
Yeah.
middle school. Was that really did that play a big factor, when you're growing up? Maybe you see yourself on the news or getting some extra recognition, or did that not play too much into you as a kid?
Honestly, my parents more so kept me away from that. I wasn't involved in social media at all. I didn't even have a phone. So I just felt like in the track community, it was so hectic. I was winning so much. Every single track meet, like people used to come up to me and like ask for autographs. And like when I used to finish and I'm walking back to my tent, I was saying, thank you so much. I couldn't take a breath. I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like people coming up to me. So I feel like it more so scared my parents, and they were like, we're just gonna, so I wasn't like reading in the newspaper or whatever, I was just really doing it for the enjoyment of the sport, really. So,
Oh yeah. That's got to be crazy. Like, so when was the first time that you're writing an autograph? You remember like, oh, okay, like I guess I can give you my name.
It was weird. I didn't know what to expect. It was more so, the younger children that was coming up to me. I really was a role model for them. But USATF track meets, or I remember the first time I did like a lot of autographs was when I went to Peru, and I won the 100 hurdles at the U20s, and a lot of the foreigners were coming up to me, and they printed out pictures of me and like was giving it to me. It was like, can you autograph me? I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. And they were all asking for pictures. It was just so much love. So yeah.
You gotta be like, you just finish out a race and it's like, you printed out, I don't even have photos of me like that.
Have this picture.
Exactly. And so yeah, you just mentioned that, like you win in 2019 or not 2018, the U20 World Championships. Could you take us through like what that was like being able to say, yeah, I'm a world champion. I was the best to do it, that year for that.
Well, I've been on 3 world teams, U20. I'm pretty sure one of them were maybe like a Pan Am team. My very first team we went to Poland. I got 3rd. I think I was like 15 or 16 at that time. I got 3rd. Then I came back at the 2018s, and I won the Yeah, it was in Peru. That was in Peru. I won the 100 hurdles, and it was a really great experience. I was able to get first and second with my girl Tara. Um, it was just an all in all great experience. I feel like the World 20 teams, they do a really good job of taking care of us, putting us in a facility, feeding us, really giving us a taste of the pro life, but at the same time, at a junior level. But yeah, it was phenomenal. 10 out of 10.
So, of all the places you've been able to travel for track and field, what would you say is your favorite place you're able to go to, and why?
Oh, that's a hard one. Um, I would say it would either be between the 2016 Rio Olympics or when I go overseas to Italy to to be on tour. I said Rio because you already know the Olympics, they go all out. It was just great. It was a great experience for me. My first time just seeing everything. I was just amazed. And the food was great. Italy is just a whole new different vibe for me. It was my first time out the country. I'm like, this is different. The air there itself was just crazy, and we were like in the mountains and just driving around. It was crazy. And then we ran, it was like a pod, and we were like in the middle of a pod, and then we just see water above us and like mountains. It was just great. So I would say between Rio and Italy.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned, with Rio, so you're able to go and be a part of this really cool program that I didn't know until very recently even existed, where they had some Olympic hopefuls go out to Rio to actually experience it. And could you share what that was like? Because I'm sure many people didn't even know that was a program that we had going on.
A lot of people doesn't know about it. So basically, TD Ameritrade brought myself and I'm pretty sure about four other athletes. It was myself, Damien. He's in our group as well. He is a 110 hurdler, and there was a fencer and there was a diver. And I forget their names. I feel so bad, but they took us as an Olympic hopeful, paid for everything, gave us like a phone. They took us to see. We were out there for the 2 weeks that we were out there. We saw every sport. We saw the championship for tennis, swimming, diving. We actually left right before we saw the track or whatever. So we saw like the opening ceremony and stuff like that. But as far as like finishing through all the track, we didn't get to see that because we had school. But they more so took us as an Olympic hopeful because we were too young to be in the Olympics, but our times were a bit enough there for us to actually be in Olympics. So they took us, as an Olympic hopeful.
Oh, that's so cool that you get to
Right?
be able to see what it looks like and everything like that. Like I was able to go as a viewer to go and watch. I was lucky enough to be able to go and
Really?
see. And it was like the craziest thing is when you're at the Olympics, like other Olympians will be just walking around venues.
Yeah, like they took us through the Olympic Center or whatever, and I saw Allison Phillips for the first time. I was just like, oh, they're just walking. I was like, they just walking casually. Oh yeah.
Who have been some of the since like you said you're new, you're kind of new into the you said you're a young veteran, you're only what I said you're 20, are you 21 now?
21 in September.
Okay, there. Okay, so yeah, so you're still very very young in the game. Have you met any of those cool like big veteran names like Allison Felix or Usain Bolt where you're like, oh wow, this is like really cool that I'm seeing one of these legends in the sport?
I've pretty much met almost all of them. I have not met Usain Bolt, but I've met like Allison Felix and a lot of the greats. Just being on tour with all of them and meeting them, or like being in the warm up area with them. So for the most part, yeah, it was just a great experience. Everybody's just really nice and welcomed me in. Like, oh my God, you're the baby. Welcomed me in. Everything was just great. So yeah, I did meet a lot of top athletes.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, so something that I'm sure a lot of people very interested in. So you're the first female hurdler to turn pro out of high school, and something just being able to turn professional in any sport out of high school is crazy enough. And to be the first to do it in your specific event has to be really cool. What was that like? Because you still had a senior year after that. So what was it
Yeah.
like turning pro and then walking in the hallways and seeing all these people, and you're a professional athlete at that point? That's got to be crazy for you.
For me, I wasn't very vocal about it. I don't necessarily like to talk about myself a lot at all, because I sometimes I find, makes people uncomfortable. And I really didn't want to, make anyone feel bad or have any unnecessary things going on in my school. So a lot of people in the school didn't even know that I was professional at that time. I really was telling everybody, don't tell a lot of people, I had a whole senior year. It was more so new to me. And I really didn't even know that I was the first person, female, male person, to go pro out of high school in the hurdles. Or really, they told me I was like number 5 or 4 in the world that's ever done it. And I honestly didn't even know that until after I was signed. So yeah, so I just felt like everything was just a learning experience. But just as far as like walking through the halls and whatever, when people started to find out, they was like asking questions, and I was just telling them, they was just like, oh wow. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty normal for the most part. I didn't get any, bad vibes from anything. Everything was really smooth.
Mhm. Could you walk us through kind of what that process looked like? Because I know you're at one point you were looking into potentially Oregon and then changing and going pro. I mean, what was that whole situation like? Because I'm sure it's stressful enough that process when you're a senior or junior and going and trying to pick up decisions for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Like I can only imagine it's escalated even greater when you're that talented of an athlete.
So actually, multiple different companies, 2 companies were interested in me at a younger age when I was 16. I would had the opportunity to go pro when I was 16, but my parents decided, for me to stay in school, just to stay, staying a child. Because, as soon as, cross that line, you lose some of your innocence and of your child. So they said no. And then when it came, I actually committed to Oregon the same day. And my mom and my dad was actually negotiating, my contracts and everything with Adidas at that time. So the same day that I signed to commit to Oregon is the same day I got my Adidas contract finalized. So, and I didn't even know my mom was doing that. So I'm all excited. I signed to Oregon. My mom was like, baby, she was like, I have your Adidas contract. You have an opportunity to go pro. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, professional? She was like, yeah. So she basically was like, it's up to you. My parents was like, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. I personally decided to go to Oregon. I was just like, no, I want to go to Oregon. That was my dream school, because I only went on 2 visits and I just knew exactly where I was going. But there, unfortunately, was a lot of different political things going on with Oregon, to the point where it scared me out of going. Like, it was over the news. It was a lot of, different things going. So I was just like, maybe this is, my sign to go professional. And I just prayed on it. And everything led me to the direction to just decide to go professional with Adidas. So that's what I did.
There you go. Yeah, that's got to be that'd be a stressful day. That
It
afternoon.
It was crazy. I was scratching my head. I was like, I don't know what to do, because I was like, no, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to college. But everything just wasn't working in my favor to go to college. I was like, what is going on? So yeah, I just prayed on it and everything just fell into place.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't get any sleep that day. Nothing. Staying up.
Oh, no.
Had to. And so, that's a really cool experience turning pro, so early. And I know, so track's a little bit different than other sports where, you go from being a college athlete to in the NFL, or from high school to, baseball, whatever it is. And so they'll mention that they've had their, welcome to the pros moment, where it's like, oh snap, this isn't college sports, or this ain't high school sports. I'm in the pros now. Was there any ever moment, in your life, when you're running, you're like, yeah, this isn't high school, this isn't AAU track, this is the big dogs. Do you ever have a moment like that?
Um, Honestly, no. As far as the adjustment, I've always felt like I've competed at an extremely high level. When I was like in 8th grade, I was running with college girls. So I was always at the track meets that was, exactly like the pro track meets. So when I became pro, it was more so, fairly the same to me. but yeah, and I feel like, it would have been different if I was on a collegiate level and then going to professional. But for me, I was always, in that circle. So the adjustment was pretty smooth for me. It was pretty easy for me.
Mhm. Oh yeah. I almost, yeah, because I almost forgot that I think in 8th grade, you won New Balance Nationals for high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I,
makes sense. Yeah. You've been competing up for a little while now.
yeah, so
Yeah. So
they,
would you say like how do you think that, you've been when you're competing up and training with whether it's, college people when you're in high school or pros when you're, just getting started, like, competing and training at a high level, how would you say that has helped you so far so, you can be successful, now when, you're in your pros, you're starting, you're in your prime, getting ready to drop some really good times. How do you feel like that practice and everything that you did in high school really helped you for where you are today?
um for the most part, I feel like it helped me out because I was practicing with the top of the top athletes at training. So I'm training with people, that's D1 and collegiate in their line of work. So I feel like anyone that would like to compete, on a high level, you need to get that high intensity training. You need to be doing those necessarily things to, reach those goals that you want to do. So you can't necessarily go about it um, that you would do what everyone else does in high school. So for me, my dad used to always tell me, you can't do what they do because they don't do what you do. So a lot of different things in life, as far as, hanging out with friends and going different places, like you already had to have that professional mindset in. It had to be, like work, work, work. So as far as that, yeah, you just have to put that mindset into your training.
Yeah, that you said it perfectly there. Like, there's a lot of things where, like, if a lot of people want to, a lot of people want to make the NBA, but not a lot of people want to put in the time you have to do to make the NBA. Or, everybody wants to be the fastest person on the track, but nobody wants to do the workouts that you got to do to be the fastest person on the track.
Exactly.
There you go. So having that great mindset definitely can be really helpful. And so, up until very recently, you've been training with your dad from your pretty much your entire life. What was that like at, having your dad train, helping being your coach for most of your life, and then you're angry at practice, and then you gotta go eat dinner at the dinner table an hour later.
I personally feel like it was a great experience. Your parents are always going to have your best interest. I feel like my dad is the reason why I'm here today, and he molded me into the person that I am today. So anywhere that I go, I'm always going to remember what he taught me. I'm never going to forget what put me in this position now. And but yeah, it really was crazy as far as like going to practice and like we had a heated moment and then we're at dinner. But as far as like my dad, at dinner, we're still talking about track. Everything was, work. He was like, Tia, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. I'm like, all right, all right. So I really just felt like that's what made me so great, is because he was always on top of it with me.
He's like talking about your lead leg, and it's like, I'm trying to eat my wings. Can you hold on for 1 minute?
Exactly what you're doing. I'm like, Dad, I'm like, I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. Like, we don't have to talk about it at dinner.
So yeah, now pass the juice over here. Come on now, like, let's. Yeah. And so looking back at your career so far, what would you say is maybe some adversity or something that you went through that, has helped mold you to do what to where you are today? Because obviously everyone thinks of success being one easy, straight up hill, but we all know there's mountains and valleys and stuff you go through. What's something that when you look back at your, career so far, you're like, hey, that was a tough moment, but we've learned from it and we're going to use it to go forward.
Um, Personally for me, I would say my injury. I had a pretty serious injury right before COVID hit. Just looking back on that, I would just say, um, you know, what's the word I'm trying to use? Really just, well, for me right now is learning that the hard part for me is off the track than on the track, making sure the hard part is staying healthy. The hard part is eating right. The hard part is making sure all your nutrition and everything is in order. The easy part, when you're talented, or, when you put the hours in, you're at this point, the easy part is on the track. You know what I'm saying? So just as but that comes with a professional, environment. So, when you're in college or whatever, or, we're in at home, dad or, college has the tools, to put it in front of you for you to be doing those proper things. So now it's more so you have to do it on your own. So I feel like that would be the most challenging part for me. But yeah, just looking back, I feel like, certain losses, I would say, like on the track and off the track, I feel like it's the way that you handle those things and how you, prosper through those. So it all comes down to your mindset and how bad you want it.
Yeah, it's not just about what happens. It's what the movie Rocky. It's like don't care about how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. And so it's whether it's an injury or something going on in your personal life with family, or it's something whatever it might be, you lost your phone, whatever it is, like it's about how you can respond to that adversity and all of
Yeah.
that makes you better.
Yes,
Awesome. And so now you're down in Orlando, changing up with you got a new coach, new training group, and everything. Bring us into that. How are things going with your new group? What are you most excited for? Because we're starting up outdoors very soon. We're going to be going out to the outdoor track. What's the bring us into the training group a little bit.
So I trained with Jasmine Commercial Quinn. That's that's who won the 100 hurdles.
Good person to train with.
So I just feel like being in a new group, being in a new environment, it's definitely different being around everyone that is a professional athlete, everyone that's so much older than me that can teach me so many different things. So just being in this group honestly has opened my eyes to things. Getting treatment on top of treatment, like how consistent, that everyone is just amazing. You know what I'm saying? And just falling in line with that, it's just, I'm just grateful to have that. And I'm just excited for this outdoor season and learning new things, soaking everything in. So I'm just excited for this new season, crossing fingers on how everything goes.
Was there anything, whether it was training wise or maybe off the track, when you joined this new group, you're like, oh wait, so this is how you guys do it? Like anything completely that might have changed your perspective on things?
I more so would say, as far as the treatment, I didn't know that you needed to get as much treatment as everyone does. You know what I'm saying? Like usually it would be like once a week for everybody's body varies. So for me, getting, these body fat percentages and doing all of these different things and getting these treatments is like so repetitive and so consistent. And I never really knew that that's how, serious it was. Of course I was getting treatment before, but I just wasn't doing it as frequently as I am now. And but just having, just being here and having all the different types of resources that I have, and getting everyone's opinions on things, helping me out from knickknacks to major things is just a really good tool to have.
Yeah, that's something when I was in college, I learned. I was like, because I would train and practice and then just go home, like get in the car, go home and sleep. And I'm like, wait, y'all got ice baths and everything like that. So I'm sure like it's got to be even more crazy when you're looking at it like that. Awesome. And so we're getting started very soon with the indoor or outdoor season coming up. What is it, looking forward towards the rest of 2022? First, like when do you hopefully, think you might open up if you have that idea yet? Or, what are some goals or hopes that you have for the outdoor season here?
For me right now, I just want to be able to PR. I just want to take it one step at a time. I want to be able to PR, have that clean race. And then I'm the type of person with my goals. Of course I set ultimate goals. Of course everyone, want to win a gold medal. But for me, my main thing is to being able to set new goals. So when I reach that new goal, I want to keep setting new goals. You know what I'm saying? So like, when you get your journal and you write down what you want to do throughout the year and, just crossing it down the line. So that's the main thing I want to do. As far as opening up, we are still sitting on it to see, what's the good meet to open up at. For me, as far as the hurdles, I was going to open up next week, but gotta sit, watch and see when I'm going to open up.
There you go. There you go. Well, we're definitely excited to see, how you're going to end up doing this season. It should be an exciting year. A lot of big meets that are coming along this season, this year and next year and all that. So it should a lot of awesome opportunities to see you. But thank you so much for joining us, Tia. It's been awesome chatting with you. Where could people go if they want to get more about you and hear more about your story on social media or anything like that?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I am mainly on Instagram. I don't really have any other socials. At tia.ajones. Again, tia.ajones. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm mainly on there. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And then thank you to everyone for listening. This has been another episode of Track World News. If you want more content, go and follow us over on Instagram at Track World News. You post content almost daily there, interviews, highlights, all that type of stuff. Thank you. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.